In this lesson, we're going to focus on the types of neurotransmitters that we have that are sending messages throughout our nervous system. Now, just a reminder, neurotransmitters are the chemical messengers that send information between neurons, telling them to fire or to stop firing. The two major categories of neurotransmitters that we have are excitatory and inhibitory. Excitatory neurotransmitters excite another neuron, telling it to fire again. Inhibitory neurotransmitters do the opposite, and they inhibit the action of another neuron, and they're telling it to stop firing. The message has been sent, we're all finished, and we don't need to continue firing. So let's look at some specific neurotransmitters that we have that some you might be familiar with. The first one we're going to look at is called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is an excitatory neurotransmitter, meaning that it will tell a neuron to fire, and it is involved in muscles. It enables muscle action. It also enables learning and memory, but we're going to focus mostly on muscles. It's the only neurotransmitter that we have that sends messages between motor neurons and skeletal muscles. It actually causes muscle contractions, and that's how we move in response to various stimuli in our environment. Lack of acetylcholine or lack of acetylcholine producing neurons has been linked to Alzheimer's disease. Nicotine is an agonist to acetylcholine. Now, agonist and antagonist are two of your vocabulary words. Agonist means to mimic the neurotransmitters. So it actually mimics the behavior of acetylcholine. The second type of neurotransmitter, the second neurotransmitter, is dopamine. Dopamine is a very powerful neurotransmitter. It's another excitatory neurotransmitter that influences movement, learning, attention, and big-time pleasurable emotions. Dopamine is released the most in what we call our reward pathway. Dopamine is responsible for a lot of addictions. When your phone, for example, when your phone vibrates or you receive some sort of a notification on your phone, it causes dopamine to be released in a big, heavy surge in that reward pathway of your brain. It causes you to get excited, like, woohoo, I got a notification, or somebody is, texting me, or whatever it is. And that's how we become addicted to our phones. Whatever it is about those things, they make us feel good, and we crave that feeling. And that's dopamine that's being released. So we're looking for those dopamine surges and whatever will cause those dopamine surges to take place. A couple other things about dopamine. Excess levels of dopamine has been linked to schizophrenia and schizophrenic symptoms. Things like paranoia, irrational thoughts, and delusions are linked to dopamine. Too much dopamine. Too little dopamine or decreased levels of dopamine has been linked to Parkinson's disease, and the symptoms of Parkinson's being tremors and decreased mobility or movement. Now, agonists for dopamine, chemicals that mimic dopamine, are cocaine and other amphetamines. Another neurotransmitter is called serotonin. Serotonin, another excitatory neurotransmitter that causes our other neurons to fire. It affects our mood, hunger, sleep, arousal, and aggression. This is a neurotransmitter that has been linked to depression, and when we take antidepressant medications, the most common ones that we take or that we prescribe are serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And I'll explain that a little bit more in class, but they keep serotonin going in the brain so that the symptoms of depression are not as severe. So an undersupply of serotonin is linked to depression and obsessive compulsive disorder. And some of those antidepressants that I was just talking about that raise those serotonin levels are Prozac, Zoloft, and Effexor also has serotonin causing agents in it as well. The next neurotransmitter is called norepinephrine, abbreviated NE. And norepinephrine, another excitatory neurotransmitter, helps us to control alertness, arousal, and mood. And this can also be linked to depression. An undersupply of norepinephrine can depress our mood. And a medication like Effexor, if you've heard of Effexor before, that is linked to, that influences both serotonin and norepinephrine, and we're finding those types of medications to be very, very effective with depression, patients with depression, and things that those serotonin antidepressants might not be as effective with. One more thing is that cocaine and other amphetamines will actually elevate norepinephrine activity at the synapses, so those are also linked to norepinephrine. GABA. Now this is an acronym for something that I can't pronounce, but gamma something butyric acid. Okay, I can't pronounce the whole thing, but we abbreviate it GABA, and this is our major inhibitory neurotransmitter. This is going to be the neurotransmitter that signals another neuron to stop firing. An undersupply of this neurotransmitter is linked to seizures, tremors, and insomnia. All right. Valium and other anti-anxiety medications, Xanax, I'm drawing a blank on some of the other ones right now, but these medications work at the GABA synapses, helping us to kind of calm down and getting those neurons to stop firing and just to calm. Endorphins. Endorphins are awesome. Endorphins are our brain's natural opiates, okay? Heroin is an opiate, and we create our own opiate, okay, in our own brain. And so morphine is another opiate. So when things happen to us, for example, this is my son here, Michael, when he fell and conked his head, and you can see that huge goose egg on his head. Endorphins will be released to help to reduce that pain on its own, but they contribute to pain relief and pleasurable emotions. If you've ever been exercising, you just feel so good, okay? We call it a runner's high. And that's endorphins being released. We want that to happen. Another way endorphins are released, every time we smile, we release endorphins. Every time we laugh, we release even more endorphins. Number 7, glutamate, another excitatory neurotransmitter that is involved in memory. And the only thing I'm going to say about this one here is that an oversupply of glutamate can overstimulate the brain, which can produce migraines and seizures. And that's really all I know about glutamate. I'm not as researched, I'm not as well read on glutamate as I am on some of the other neurotransmitters. So here is a chart for you. Not all of these neurotransmitters that are on this list do you need to know, but you can see the ones that are there, and you've got it in a nice list format, chart format for you there. Just another picture there, video for you, and I believe that is it. So those are your neurotransmitters, the ones that, yes, you do need to know all of them, and you do need to know what their effects are and what all that stuff that I just talked about, what the different things, different diseases that they are linked to in order to do well on your exam. So this is a big unit. I know a lot of stuff to learn, and that's why we're gonna take it kind of slow, and we're gonna do some different things with these in class. So until next time, I will see you soon.